Welcome to the Heaven on Earth podcast, a world where you study the story you were born into and redesign it into the story you choose. A world where you can have heaven on earth right here, right now, no matter the past. For me, heaven on earth is a holistic experience, leading with the heart, engaging with mind, body, and spirit. It's mindful, fostering calm and secure attachments. As we rise into consciousness, it's an earthly journey where we sensually embrace dynamic living.
Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Heaven on Earth podcast. I'm your host, Claudia Cataruchi, and this is where psychotherapy meets spirituality. I'm a psychotherapist, I'm a coach, I am the author of The Empath Leader, Transforming Humanity's Algorithm, and I also have a new book coming out in November called Healing from Narcissistic Abuse, Rebuild from Relationship Trauma, and Find Your Light Again. And I co-wrote it with my co-author, Grace Being, and you'll be seeing that the second podcast for this month in October, Grace and I will be talking about the book, and it's amazing. The way we did it was Grace told her own personal story, and if you can see here, I add commentary from a psychospiritual perspective. So keep looking out for that in November. That's going to be a big deal. And look for our podcast is the second podcast of this month. I'm also the founder of the Dynamic Re-Evolution ecosystem, where you find emotional regulation and a monthly roundtable called Wealth from Within and the 12-week Empath Leader Training Program. And this podcast was specifically created to translate extraordinary times into extraordinary growth. That's my jam. Here we learn how to live, how to love, and how to lead as evolved human beings, as people who are trying to heal and awaken and break generational curses. We are seeking to be emotionally intelligent, spiritually grounded, and unshakably rooted in light, even when the world around us feels like it's spinning. And listen, one of the things that I say is that we have to navigate the dark in order to find our true light. So if you've been sensing the collective chaos, if you've been feeling anxious because the headlines are leaving you disoriented, take a deep breath, because that's our universal prayer of life. This episode is for you. And as all of you know, I'll be doing this with my glasses, and I'll be reading my notes, and I'll be ad-libbing as I go. So let me start here. So knowing what's happening doesn't make the turbulence calmer, but it helps you know what to do. It helps you know how to steer the ship, your own vessel. When we can name the storm, we understand why it's tossing us around. I remember in the last part of the 1980s through the 1990s, I suffered from a 10-year phobia of airplanes. Now, I have traveled all my life. I was born overseas. I moved from country to country every 4 years. Flying was second nature to me. I watched movies. I ate. I slept. It was no problem until I had one big, very turbulent flight because I was taking my grandmother from Honduras to Colombia. And I was the one to do it because I was so fearless. I was so fearless about flying. I was just dropping her off and coming right back. And we got caught in a tropical storm. And that's where it all started. As always, the wound is the gift. It was a gift to me. It was an amazing gift to me over life. Even though those 10 years they were brutal. They were brutal. They shook me to my core. Spoiler alert, after years of therapy, after holistic healing of this phobia, I've learned that it was all about separation anxiety, and I'm going to do a whole podcast on that some other day, how all anxiety comes back to separation anxiety, right? We're, as Tara Brach says, we're all homesick and we want to just come home to the self. The way that I cured my phobia was by reading this book called The Fear of Flying. And what was important about that was the fear of flying was my first holistic teaching instruction about how to learn what the plane was doing, the noises, its capacity to endure winds and storms. It taught me everything mentally and intellectually first, what the landing gear was doing, what the pilots knew how to do. So it was all mental. But if anyone suffered from anxiety or phobias, you also know that that's not enough. It's never enough to just know through the mind. We have got to engage the body. So this book also taught me about meditating the night before, meditating the day of. It taught me about secure attachment, to have someone I love read the meditation into a recording because I would feel securely attached while listening to it. It also taught me the types of breathings to do while I was on the plane. It taught me to talk to the pilots. This was before 9/11, and the flight attendants, and inform them that I was afraid, share my vulnerability so that I could seek help. So it was all about self-advocacy, and they would keep an eye out on me. Listen, I have a lot to say about that experience, but what I really want to say is that when we know what's happening in the storm holistically, when we engage our mind, body, spirit, and heart, i.e., secure attachment, it is easier. We are able to calm our central nervous system and ground more. And so this is what this podcast is going to do. I always provide a larger multidimensional perspective while also giving you very practical and portable advice, because I do like bringing it home. And if it's not advice, it's guidance. And if it's not guidance, it's at least a meaningful conversation between you and me. So you will get practical guidance today, and you will also get ways of thinking about what's happening that might provide you with some structure, with a framework, with a scaffolding, with an approach to what's happening. So let's start. Things have been super, super turbulent socially, politically, economically, as we all know. We also know, though, that there's a lot of movement, that we're actually in the current of something changing. So today I'm going to talk about all of what's happening from a perspective of chaos theory, of karma, through a psychotherapeutic lens, through a spiritual lens. I'm going to talk about multidimensionals from the 3D to 4D to 5D. So whatever language that you speak, I will try and address it, whether it's scientific, spiritual, psychotherapeutic. I will try and approach it from those lenses, because that's what we do in Heaven on Earth here. We look at it through a multidimensional lens. All of these theories that I'm going to share with you today lead to the same place. There is order inside the storm. There is learning here. There is purpose in the unraveling. If you've ever gone to therapy, you know this to be true. And we're going to count on your intuition and my intuition to be the compass that helps us navigate these times. You ready? You have your PhD on Me notebook? Get it out, because here we go. Take notes. I love to take notes. I read from my notes. Here we go. Let's start with chaos theory. And again, when I'm teaching dynamic meditation, I call this like baby chaos theory and baby neuroscience. What I mean by that is I do not claim to be a neuroscientist. I do not claim to be a chaos theorist, but I do study these things and I like to translate them into ways that feel bite sized, into ways that help us not be intimidated by these big old titles. So here we go with baby chaos theory, which is fascinating. Chaos theory proposes that what looks random, what looks disordered, actually has order and purpose from the inside out. It hides a deeper pattern. Things like the butterfly effect, the spiral of hurricanes, nature doing its thing. Chaos theory suggests that in order for things to change and evolve, there are moments where things look like they're messy, chaotic, and out of control, like these times, but all in an effort to reorder. Our nation, for example, feels chaotic. Tons of polarization, division, financial uncertainty, fear, all in an attempt. Listen to this. What we see unraveling is an old order trying to double down on ways that were the old ways, and it's bumping against a new humanity that no longer wants to exist in those ways. So, yes, it gets chaotic when those two frequencies rub against each other. It's like I talked about it in the last podcast when the narcissistic father wants to dominate because the father sees that there's more revolt, that there's more rebellion, that there's more defiance from either the wife or the children or the family. And I'm using very stereotypical formats here. But what I'm saying is, when there's rub like this, when it is time to have change and evolution, this is extremely normal, even though it feels scary. It feels scary when the teenager starts talking back. It feels scary when the 2-year-old, the toddler, starts saying no, 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 and starts to want to wiggle out of your arms to run around. This feels scary. Listen, I'm moving right now and it feels like a mess. It feels like a mess, but it's a mess that has a purpose. So know this. The old systems are fracturing because their frequency no longer matches the collective's evolution, humanity's evolution. So what feels scary is the old way trying to hold things down. In fact, it's trying to make it even more old school than it was before. That's okay. That's part of holding on. And it's okay for there to be defiance, just like in family systems, but it feels chaotic. So we're in what physicists call the bifurcation point. It's when energy splits into two possible paths. One is rooted in fear and in control, because anytime there's fear, there's always control. Always. And one rooted in love and consciousness. Consciousness, and what I mean by consciousness is that we have learned to be new, that we want to be new because we have understood that the way we have done things has just had us hit our head over and over and over. And this is true for 12-step programs. What is the definition of insanity? Is to do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Well, now humanity, the planet, is ready for something new and is ready to take that risk. There are some who are not ready. And that's why we are at the bifurcation point. So there is a storm, and we can learn how to ride It's intelligence. There's data here, and it's intelligent data. Chaos isn't disorder. It's just trying to birth a new pattern that we can't see yet. But if we know that that's what's happening, it makes it slightly easier that something is going to come about from this chaos. It also gives you, at this bifurcation point, a choice, a conscious choice. And again, the all is in the small is in the all. We have these opportunities, these crossroads all the time where we get to make a different choice. Hear me. Okay, now this is going to get repetitive, but it's going to get repetitive from different points of view. So for those of you like me who loves all this multidimensional conversation where we talk about being in the third dimension, the fourth dimension, and the fifth dimension. And let me explain again, baby talk multidimensionality. And I'm not demeaning it when I say baby talk, by the way. I'm just saying that I don't give the huge in-depth theories like some of the theorists would, but I do give the short version. So let's talk about dimensions, because understanding them helps us locate ourselves. We know where to put ourselves on the map. The 3D, when you hear me talking about the 3D or hear others talking about the 3D, is the physical plane. It's here. It's planet Earth. It's all around us. It's the material, physical plane. It's what we're dropped into when we're first born. It's systems, it's politics, it's economics, it's culture, it's religion, it's structures. It's very dense and it takes form. This is what spiritually we might call incarnation. This is where we incarnate. We become physical, we become form. If you believe that we are first spiritual beings or souls and we incarnate on planet Earth, this is where we are. We are in the 3D level. We are form. This is a table. This is a microphone. Things take form here in the 3D, and it's super, super dense. Think of the 4D as a bridge. The fourth dimension. It starts to get a little bit more invisible. It's the plane of emotion, of thought, of information, of imagination, of illusion. It's all the invisible conversation that I talk about a lot in the book, The Empath Leader. It's all the psychic messaging that we give each other through energy. It's a bridge. We don't seem to notice it, and we're very, very, very untrained in it. It's here on this bridge that narratives are manipulated. This is the exact place where we spread fear, where fear becomes contagious, because it is all energetic, which is why I insist on us becoming more psychically literate. I'm doing a series right now on YouTube, a vlog series on the clairs, clairsentience, claircognizance, clairaudience, clairvoyance. There's all sorts of energetic skills that we have as humans that we are born with that are all about the 4D. And it's imperative that we become literate in it, not only to become more emotionally intelligent, but for us to become spiritually literate, because it's being manipulated and used all the time. Marketing uses it. Politicians use it. We spread fear, and it's all invisible. Propaganda uses it. They bring it from the invisible into the visible, into the 3D plane. But this is also a beautiful place where the individual and the collective awakens, especially if we're guided through it, especially if we start to track the ways that we're really skilled in this 4-dimensional plane, this bridge that basically connects us from the material world, the 3D, into the 5D, the fifth dimensional world. So the fifth dimensional world is all about unity consciousness. It's all about us realizing that we are ourselves and ourselves are us, that what happens inside of us happens outside of us, that what happens outside of us can impact the inside of us, that we're not separate from nature or the animal kingdom. This is where we have intuitive knowing. This is where we're telepathic with other creatures and humans. And most of us as humans are walking all three all the time, but we don't know it. When we're scrolling on Instagram all day long, we're in the 4D, we're in this trance-like state between what's happening on the earth plane, on what's happening physically, but also we start to touch, we start to feel other energies. When we are meditating or when we drop into presence with other humans, we're actually aligning all three. I'm here with you. I feel you energetically, and I feel you spiritually. When we're paying our bills, when we vote, when we clean the kitchen, we're in the 3D. But check it out. For example, when we vote, we are motivated by invisible energetic forces and forces like feelings and schemas. And what I mean by forces is by emotions, by invisible energies that are thought forms or emotional forms that impact the way that we live on the 3D plane. Our work and what I encourage in all of my work is to integrate all three. But in order to integrate all three, we must know that we have and that we're constantly navigating inside and outside of all three. So knowing that in this chaos, understanding and validating that part of what's happening out there is also because there's a psychic conversation going on, a psychic battle, if you will, of folks wanting to get our vote. And what does our vote mean? Our vote only means where we put our attention. Where are we going to put our attention? That's our vote. Where you put your attention is your vote. Your 3D vote, but it comes from 4D and 5D experiences. Do you see the importance of the literacy? Do you understand the importance of being literate in these dimensions? I hope you do. And once we are literate in them, we can learn how to navigate them and not feel victim or prey to these emotional energetics or ways of thinking that we feel like we were never even privy to a choice. We just went with the fear that was here at the moment. We just went with it. We just went with the more dominant energy, the bossier person, the more narcissistic energy, because we weren't aware that we have access to these energetics and we can learn how to pilot them. Okay, so now let's baby talk astrology. And I've been talking about this all the time since the beginning of this podcast. And again, I want to remind you that I created this podcast for this exact time, for 2025. It is absolutely no coincidence. I didn't plan it this way, by the way. So I'm shocked that both these books came out in 2025. Both of them. Shocking. And if we go with the 4D and the 5D, right on track. It's amazing. In any case, this podcast has been meant to prepare us for this time, from the individual all the way to the collective. Okay, we are currently in the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is considered the age of truth, the age of innovation, the age of technology, the age of individual uniqueness, and the age of community. The age of Aquarius before saw revolutions, saw revolts, because in the age of Aquarius, the focus is that top-down hierarchies, talk about that in the book, are dissolving. Because I said so no longer works. It's trying to work, but it can't, it doesn't take root. The new paradigm is cooperative, not coercive. Aquarius rules the collective nervous system, the internet, social movements, and grassroots revolutions. They all happen in the age of Aquarius. So power isn't from the top down, it's actually from the people up. So we know that when old power structures feel threatened, they tighten their grip. So it makes sense. We're witnessing fear tactics, censorship, and control. The narcissist, whether it's in the media, in our families, or in our personal life, doubles down on their tactics when exposure is near. It's messy, but we're not alone. And it's sort of a sacred type of mess. So when we feel that there's defiance from the collective, from the people, let's say, it's because they understand that the old ways are unsustainable because they were based on false foundations. The need to control, the need to dominate just won't jive anymore. So let's move into the psychospiritual approach, especially psychotherapy and what we can call the dark night of the soul. Many, many, many psychotherapists talk about this. Joseph Campbell talk about this. It's just, healing hurts, but it hurts when it's working. I always say to my clients, listen, we're going to do some spelunking together through some very, very intense tunnels, but we're not doing it alone. We go through trauma tunnels. And this is why we need tools like the dynamic meditation method. This is why we need psychotherapy. This is why we need support groups, because sometimes revisiting our past is hard, especially when we've been deeply wounded. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And the dark night of the soul, what it proposes is that we wrestle. We wrestle with these places. Doing it alone is really hard. And so I keep saying on this podcast, let's do these times together, whether it's because you're healing individually, because you are breaking some ancestral chains of the past, or because as a collective, we want to heal from the trauma of our nation, of our planet, of our religion. We need to heal from this in order to take a leap into our next evolutionary stage. The dark night of the soul is when all the lights go out, whether you're a person, a nation, or the world. It's the descent before the light of the dawn shows up. And this collective dark night that we're going through right now is here for a purpose, and it's to burn away illusion. It's to see right through the gaslighting. It's to lift the veil on the trauma that certainly our nation has gone through, our peoples, nuestra gente has gone through, and through what each one of us has gone through. Each one of us, because it starts with one of us. I always say that, heal yourself and you're healing the planet. The United States, like any individual with trauma, has karma to face. Slavery, for one, oppression, and domination. And as with any narcissistic system, when accountability arrives, denial and rage erupts first. It's cathartic, it's uncomfortable, and it's necessary. If we're going to learn, if we're going to grow, if we're going to leap into evolution, it's got to happen. We have got to look things straight in the eye. In therapy, we actually call this integration. We bring back the parts of ourselves that we hate the most, that we've disavowed, that we're afraid of. We befriend it. It's individuation. Jung would call it individuation. Integration. It's bringing the shadow back. Go check out my episode on the shadow. In 12-step programs, we call it taking inventory, and it's a huge part of sobriety, of claiming our addiction. All of this is part of the journey of addiction. We have to first claim and be accountable to the fact that things have become chaotic and unmanageable, that the addiction has us. The dark night of the soul in addiction is the same. And the moment we say, wow, this is unmanageable, this is chaotic, now I'm going to do some inventory. I'm going to face the people that I've hurt. I'm going to face the damage that I've caused. I'm going to face the trauma that was caused to me. All of it is there. Can you see why we don't do it alone? Can you see why we have 12-step groups? Can you see why there's psychotherapy and spiritual groups? Because these are hard, but they're normal. This is what humanity does. This is what humans do. This is why we have a phrase, the dark night of the soul. We are being asked to grow up as humans and as a species. Yep, we are here to mature. Let's talk about it through the lens of karma. All karma is not punishment, y'all. Karma is the perspective that we are here to learn lessons on planet Earth. So when we talk about someone in your life being a karmic, what that means is they were someone, and that could be a parent, a child, a lover, certainly our lovers, our past relationships, are people who are here to help us learn the lessons that we are here to learn in order to heal and in order to evolve. So I've talked about it here that when we ignore those lessons, it does get louder. They do try to get our attention. If we keep missing our exit, the signs get bigger. We do have a DUI. Our spouse does leave us. If we don't track it, if that little pain in our body that we just ignore, we don't go to the doctor, it gets louder. The ways that we ignore ourselves, the ways that we hurt ourselves will try and get our attention so that we can heal. And that goes for our country. That goes for our systems. What it's asking is this working? Is this marriage working? Is this alcohol working? Is this avoidance pattern working? Is your volatility working? What are you learning? What are we learning? We cannot bypass our pain, past, present, and expect peace. And so the same karmic patterns appear. That's what it means. So in terms of where we are as a humanity, greed, domination, exploitation, all the isms, believe it or not, are asking to be healed. Have we learned? They're not here to be repeated. They're here to be healed. I keep saying history will not repeat itself because we are dealing with a way more conscious and actually way more healed humanity. Now we've had centuries, at least 1 century of psychotherapy. If we go all the way back to Freud and Jung, if we go back to the discovery of post-traumatic stress disorder in World War I soldiers, we are dealing with a humanity that knows how to heal, that wants to heal. So individually, what it means is that your own life might be mirroring the collective. How's narcissism showing up in your life? How is your trauma or avoiding your trauma showing up in your life? How is it trying to get your attention? How are your old wounds demanding that you look at them? This isn't regressive. It will actually move you forward, as it will move our humanity forward. So we're all in that same karmic classroom. Those are all the spokes on the wheel. And right now, we're just talking about how we're going to be on this turbulent flight and how we approach it with our mind through different angles, one that fits you in particular. See the one that fits you. And I'm going to expand on all of this. I'm going to keep going because I really find that when we have people around us who understand what's happening, who provide us with a blueprint, who sit shotgun with us on this road trips that feel sometimes get harder. We go through really difficult terrain, which is the life of the inner journey. But we also know that there's lots of light that we have access to without ever rejecting or avoiding the dark. One of the ways to know that you are psychologically healthy is the ability to be able to hold multiple feelings, right? In a circle of love and light, is the ability to hold the dark with the light. And sometimes we explore one more than the other. That's what we're talking about over and over and over with different approaches on this podcast. So let's talk about the portable, the practical, the tools. What are our anchors? And let's anchor into the practical. Okay, so now we're going straight into the 3D and what we need. Because spirituality, because remember, it's heaven on earth, on being the 4-dimensional, on being the bridge. We are here to align all of it. We need the grounding. Can't just be out there. We're not spiritually bypassing or emotionally bypassing. We are doing heaven and earth on earth. And so let's find our inner bridge. So here are some wealth for within, because everything is the inner journey. Here's some guidelines. Okay. So I'm going to read them because I wrote them quickly. I write them in the morning when I'm doing my meditations. So number 1, during these times, home is your sanctuary. I've said this over and over. And that is inside your own vessel, inside yourself, double down. Home is your sanctuary, but so is your external sanctuary. Have it be beautiful. Have it be gentle. Now, even if you have kids running around, find ways to make parts of your home a sanctuary. Create spaces that help regulate your central nervous system, whether it's with music, with odors, with candles, with great dinners, with stillness. So home is a double word, the home inside of you and the home outside of you. Double down on your tools. Listen, if the old paradigms are going to double down on their tactics, if the narcissistic stepdad is going to double down, then we have to double down when we're going through the dark night of the soul on our tools, whether that's breath work, meditation, our groups, prayer, whatever touches you, do more of it. I have actually added more time because there's more people going through it. And when I have sessions, I need to know that I am anchored in so I can hold beautiful space for folks. But first, I've got to hold it for myself. So every day, especially on the hard days, double down on your tools. Listen, when you're running every day versus you're training for a marathon, there's a whole different way of doing it. Same idea here. Don't mess around with your tools. Have a plan B. Okay. Having a plan B, a plan C, it calms the body. Listen, we don't need plan A to go perfectly. But if we have a plan B, if we know what second post office to go to, okay, we breathe it through. Plan B is breathing it through. We have another place. We have another route. Thank you, GPS, because you just gave me another route. Okay, sovereignty calms the body. So when we have options, it helps. It helps. We don't feel trapped. Okay. Affirm protection, declare it. It's one of the things that I do with my Wealth from Within group. Every little baby, when we're born, when our root chakra, which is the first layer of foundation. The foundation to anything, to a building. We declare protection. We affirm it. We ask for it. We claim our personal protection. Say it out loud. I am divinely protected. I am divinely guided and protected. My house is protected. And it's not fear driven. It is a human right to feel protection. That's why we start as babies, puppies, kittens, bunnies. Protection first. Small elephants surrounded by the herd. What happens is that we lose the claiming of our personal protection. And that's what causes trauma, is feeling so unprotected in the world. So words matter, claim it. Obviously, this leads to root chakra work. So that's safety, belonging, security, stability, embodiment. This is your power base. Please pick up the book because I have a whole sequence. And grounding comes first in the root chakra, which symbolizes safety, stability, belonging. We need to belong for us to know how to make decisions, but belong inside of ourselves. If you're taking the temperature outside of yourself all the time, you are going to feel confused. You are going to feel undecided. You're going to be swept by the winds. So belong inside of you. I belong to me. I am stable within me. Track your intuition. Now, and remember, this is for your healing journey, but it's for what's happening out there in 2025. Track your intuition in your PhD on Me journal, PhD on You journal. Track the times that you made decisions based on your intuition that worked, where maybe everyone disagreed with you, but you knew. And that meant, like, I'm not cutting my hair. It could be that. I remember my son saying that to me once, and he was so right on. There were so many little sovereign moments that were intuitive for all of us. Track them. I want you to make a list tonight. Say, what moments did my gut feeling, my intuition, my sixth sense, my clairsentience, all of your clairs were fully there? You made those decisions and it worked. It doesn't mean it wasn't messy or chaotic. By the way, doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that there's not upheaval. Don't confuse them. Some of our decisions cause upheaval. They cause messy, they cause chaos. But were you intuitively right on the money? Probably yes. And you've probably had a few of those moments. Track them so that you can start trusting your intuition, but more so that you can start trusting your decision making. Build evidence of your inner guidance. Build the evidence. Number 8, don't do it alone. Don't do it alone. Don't do it alone. These are hard. The dark night of the soul is not easy. Times when we feel so politically chaotic, not easy. Divorce is not easy, y'all. Becoming sober after being an addict. Do not do this alone. There's no excuses. There's so much support out there for us. I promise you. If you feel you don't have friends or family, or maybe you've cut some cords, there are support groups that are talking about this. We create our own new families of like-minded people who are doing the healing work. And now more than ever, we need community. Remember, in the age of Aquarius, it's going to start from the bottom up. It's going to start from power of the people, communing, coming together, organizing. So whether it's in your life or out there, do not do it alone. Commune, collaborate, and organize. When families are isolated, when the child is isolated, when someone who's being abused is isolated, it breeds fear. Okay, so the way that the narcissist in any situation, whether it's in a system or in your home, they get to you through your need and your fear. They study really quickly what is your need and how do I exaggerate your fears. So collective, my loves. I was going to say my soul loves, and I like that. My soul loves. Figure out what you're needing and answer it before anyone else comes in What is your need and what are your fears? And get right into them. Okay. And having needs, really human, really normal. And so is having fear. The thing is when it's exploited. And that is about to happen, and it's happening more and more. And boy, is that a distractor, such a distractor to building our sovereign communities and to building our sovereign selves. Number 9, name narcissistic patterns. Name them, catch them, sharpen your eyes through the illusion. That's why I'm doing a series on the clairs, so that you can see the truth behind the words. And the truth is your truth, not everyone else's truth. What is my truth in this situation? That's what you double down on finding out through tools, through your clairs, through your gifts. Now, out in the collective, any group that is minority, any group that feels on the outskirts, any group that feels marginalized, any group that feels like you're not in the center of the bell curve, name the narcissistic patterns that you're seeing, because history will not repeat itself. Repeat after me. History will not repeat itself because you and the collective know way more now. We are not a deer in headlights, and we have got support. We have got go Google, go to ChatGPT and say, where do I get support for this need, for this fear? Do not gaslight yourself. When we become conscious, when we become aware, we are free. Why? Because we can choose our own destiny. And the freest human is the choosing human. It's one of my favorite quotes by me. The freest human is the choosing human. Fear and need are how narcissism maintains power. When we regulate our fear and we meet our needs consciously, the control mechanisms lose their grip. That is why I beat the drum to emotional regulation, emotional intelligence, somatic grounding, financial preparation, plan B all over the place, and spiritual practices right now. The Heaven on Earth podcast was planned for today. And it has to be holistic, just like my phobia. It doesn't work if it's not mind, body, spirit. It has to be all of it for you to come into your choosing sovereign self. All right. Why do all of this? Why do all of this? Because we need lighthouses. And you, if you're an empath, if you're a human, if you're listening to this podcast, it doesn't matter how you identify. You are the lighthouse archetype. It attracts you. It pulls you. Let's be the lighthouse in the storm. We hold, and we shine light. We shine light through the illusions. We call out the narcissistic tactics. We do it. We shine light on ourselves, on our own trauma. We will be unafraid of our own healing journey. The lighthouse isn't running on the shore screaming. It stands. It shines. It shows up. Here I am in my root chakra. I'm stable. I belong. I'm visible. This is what we're doing. This is what we're training to become. Just like the marathon, this is what we're doing right now. When you master your nervous system, listen, blissful, you anchor the collective field. You anchor yourself safely into the collective field. If I had to use like one phrase to what heaven on earth feels like, it's a calm central nervous system. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there's no chaos or mess or towers falling around you. It just means that inside of your own self, inside of your vessel, your central nervous system says, oh yes, I am at home. That's what it feels like. On that plane, through a rainstorm, yes, I'm at home. Inside of me. So let's close up. This is a long podcast on purpose, of course. So since 2020, I was called to start doing this, just started gathering momentum. Every program that I've offered, created, woken up to by a dream, because all of them, Empath Leader, Wealth from Within, Dynamic Meditation Method, all have come to me in a dream. All of them were preparing me, were gathering momentum for this exact moment in time. Because just as there's change going on, there's also evolution. And I want to encourage folks to reach for it. When they say people are waking up, it's not just that we're waking up, we're remembering. We're remembering ourselves. And I love the word remember, to bring all of our members back, whether it's in the collective, we're bringing the community back. We're remembering all the members that we've disavowed, that we're ashamed of. We're bringing them back. We're bridging. We're befriending. We are remembering. Yes, we're also awakening, but we are awakening to the remembrance of ourselves, what I call the a priori state. So organization is key, community is key, and your light, your heart is key. So let's take a deep breath together. Our universal prayer of breath. Place a hand over your heart. I am safe. I am stable. I belong. I am sovereign. You are the lighthouse. So remember two books. If you feel called, remember that engagement is activism. Like, share, comment. Please write a review. Thanks for showing up to this podcast. Please share it. Share it if you feel called, but also share it if you feel like someone else might benefit from this. It's free. Let's spread the word instead of exaggerating the fear. So until next time, breathe, anchor, shine. See you.